Hello, my name is Mitch. I'm joined today by my brother Eric, and this is some kind of podcast, which we don't have a name for yet. But I figure maybe like around, if we keep doing these, somewhere around like episode 3, we could come up with something.
Yeah.
Right now, it doesn't seem necessary. Yeah. So we're banding around the idea of just talking about some, I don't know, possibly relevant shit. And naturally, we would lead off with Rob Liefeld, right? No? Yeah.
Possibly, I don't know about relevant, but definitely Rob Liefeld.
I said possibly relevant.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, because he's kind of everywhere. He's constantly posting on Twitter and on Instagram, and he's got his Observations podcast. And if you have a low, what's the word? Like a low level of self-control, then you just can't stop the influx of Liefeld.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's everywhere. He's been living completely rent-free in my head for 30 years. I don't even know. Yeah,
it feels like it's ramped up the last couple of years, though.
Yeah, anytime you look at comics and then look at Twitter/X or Instagram, and just all roads lead back to Liefeld, and then just.
Yeah, and I feel like he's doing that part right in that he's just constantly putting shit out there.
Yeah.
So like, if you're ever wondering why Liefeld doesn't produce more, it's because he's always online, I guess.
Yeah, it's hard to argue with results, you know. Everything he does is so bad, but it works so well.
I'd really like to argue with the results.
Oh, more interesting than we just say, you know what? He's doing all right.
Let's argue with the results.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
No, and that's I feel like that's part of his whole. I don't know. His persona is just. It doesn't matter how I got here. I'm rich now, and they keep hiring me for stuff. So obviously, this is how you should be doing things.
Yeah, I mean, but can you argue with that? Like you can argue. No, it's every of his specific claims. You can always argue with, like, "Hey, this is that's not true. You shouldn't do that." Or hey, Deadpool and Wolverine. This is because of me. But
no. He didn't even claim Deadpool as his own until the movie started up.
Oh, really?
Well, if you'd asked him, yes, he would. Yeah, no, I totally invented it. But he didn't try to make a big deal about being the creator of Deadpool until the movies came out. Before that, it was like he'd go on about being the creator of Cable because that was the most recent popular thing.
Right. Yeah, Cable's got a following.
Does he still?
Yeah, the X-Men. If you follow Rob's Twitter stream, then yeah. He does.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think the X-Men redo bumped up the Cable.
Oh, right, because the cartoon and everything.
Yeah.
I think he just started to show up in there, and Rob, of course, is just all over it.
Yeah, they did him right. This is what I was trying to do the whole time. You guys didn't get it, so the cartoon had to just lay it out for you.
And he was hinting at so many things.
He keeps posting that. He keeps that. I was telling you, oh man, just like the picture of Cable hovering a spanner in front of him.
Yeah.
It was a clue.
I had ideas back then.
Yeah. Did he even know that?
What the whole that he was Cyclops' kid or Jean Grey's kid and all that? I doubt it.
Yeah.
I don't think that came up until the Executioner's song, and he was gone by then.
So
yeah, I think it was just a matter of the fact that he had to be some kind of mutant to be in New Mutant. So it's like, okay, I'll do a blue line around spanners and shit, and then that's his mutant power.
But then I think it was Domino was like, you got to be careful. People are going to see you doing that.
Yeah. I don't know what any of that was about.
Because it was up here. It was.
Yeah, no, it was over my head, definitely.
Yeah. Oh man.
So you got on the Rob Servations thing recently, eh?
Yeah. It's hard.
You sound so full of regret.
Here's the problem. Between listening to Rob Servations and listening to Team Blood Force Revisits, is you're pulled in like both extremes, you know? Like you listen to Rob and you're like, I mean, he's lovable, he's enthusiastic, he really likes this stuff, he cares a lot.
No, I think his love of comics is sincere.
Yeah, and it's infectious, kind of. And then he just says stuff and takes credit for stuff, and it's like, but then I don't like you again. But he's an affable guy. It's hard to, not like him just listening to him. Yeah. But then I listen to you, and you look at one of his comics. You look at what was.
Well, I mean, I never talk shit about the guy himself. It's just. What he says and what he does are kind of different things.
Yeah, it's like when a really nice guy does really horrible things.
Yeah, or just like if he tried and then was a nice guy, then that would be enough. But he doesn't try most of the time. I don't.
Yeah, this is the problem. Like I'm looking at stuff, trying to get ready, and looking at even his newest stuff. It's how is it this much worse than his older stuff?
Well, his older stuff, I feel like for one thing, he had editors back when he was doing his Marvel stuff. But even and I think the first few issues of like Youngblood and whatever else, he still had that leftover thing of, it's got to look good at least. Because, he did have editors recently. And then he starts to realize, wait a minute, I can just do whatever I want. I can have fun with this. But the thing with having fun with it is that he just, he doesn't try very hard. Because trying isn't fun.
Yeah. Are there, I wonder, you would know this probably. Are there like eras of like, strata of marked decline and quality in Rob Liefeld's career?
I feel like there is. I go by Youngblood issues mostly. Because that's the stuff I'm most familiar with. And issues 1 to 3 are probably the highest level of effort given by Rob Liefeld. And then I don't know, it feels like they start to lock down the colors, and that kind of pushes it in the other direction.
Right.
Because if Rob has access to something that makes his work look better, that means he can slack off a little bit.
That is a difference in like his new stuff is like it's really just like 4 lines and then like an insane amount of color. Yeah, and a lot of it and a lot of the ink he leaves up to an inker to figure out. But so Youngblood issue 4, it starts to slack off. Issue 5, 6, and 7 there's a notable difference as he's got Kiko Tagarashi doing his colors. He's the guy from Ollie Optics. Right. And then issue 8 and 10, he wraps it back up again because I think he's starting to get his first negative feedback from the internet. Yeah. Right. And then it kind of goes in the other direction because then he leaves to go do the Captain America thing where he's obviously not trying again. And he's, just doing layouts for Jonathan Sabal to finish off for him. Is the Captain America lack of effort due to he seems highly receptive to I don't know, I'll say market factors. So if there's demand for his work, that means that it must be good. That means I can not try so hard. Maybe, yeah. I don't know. Yeah, at the beginning of Youngblood, he felt like he had to make an impression because it wasn't like somebody was bringing him over. It was like he was striking out on his own. So I have to put myself out there. And then once he's established himself, maybe some element of that. Yeah. The thing that gets me is when he says things like, because on his it wasn't his last podcast stream thing. It was one of the last ones, the 4th anniversary one. And he's saying basically how he doesn't understand why people give him shit, basically. Yeah. Hang on. I wrote it down here. Read it just like, there's detractors, haters. Yeah. Why do I don't understand why I have detractors. Like, I don't understand. Like what problem you have that you got to put that on me? Yeah.
It's like, oh, you fucking guy.
When he knows what the complaints are.
I've got this. I've got access to this interview here from 1996, from right after he got kicked off of Captain America, because it was shit, and that was, Marvel actually has like standards, or did it sometime anyway. And he did an interview with Hart D. Fisher, who was he's like this underground guy in the 90s, and he produced this comic called Kill Image, where he literally kills all the Image creators. And it looks like snuff shit. But the Comics Journal hired him to interview Rob Liefeld, and it's very candid, and it feels like Liefeld is at his is very vulnerable. It feels like, and so he's less likely to put up a front. It's a very good interview. I had to just grab it.
This is after Captain America, so this is after a whole lot of millions of money.
Well, yeah, and this is after he's been kicked out of Image, and he's had to try and restart his own company there. And then, he got the Heroes Reborn thing, and then Marvel gave that the axe because he wasn't trying hard enough. And so, he's starting to get his first, I think, negative feedback from the internet. So, it feels like he's in like he's kind of unsure of himself, maybe for the first time. So, in the middle of this interview, that I said, is very candid. He goes to Hart D. Fisher. He goes, "Okay, so it's like, let me ask you something. If I could have 5 minutes, why do you think I get the shit that I get?" And Hart Fisher fucking goes off on him. And it's so good. He's like, okay, well, so I'm just going to read it verbatim here. He's like, well, me personally, I made fun of your art plenty of times. It's a very easy target. Your style, the anatomy just drives people crazy because from panel to panel, you're just not consistent with a lot of it. And I think that a lot of that comes from you not disciplining yourself, or you feel like your style will carry you over through these inconsistencies. I think you catch a lot of flack because most older people hate your work. They just fucking hate the artwork. It's something that they look at and they go, how the fuck is this popular? And it is. And it makes people furious that something, like, say you drew like Michelangelo and your work is phenomenal. It's beautiful. And it's completely appropriately proportioned. And you draw every detail and every car looks like a car instead of a matchbox or some kind of square. And the feet look like feet. Yet it's not selling. And you don't have lines of kids lining up to sell your books. So people are pretty pissed. They're very, very mad that the work that they feel is inferior is doing better than theirs. And I think you stick your foot in your mouth at a lot, and that could go a long way too. And then Rob comes back and says, did I stick my foot in my mouth today? And Hart says, a little bit here and there. It's kind of funny. And I think that has a lot to do with it. I think sometimes the people, it just fucking blows their minds that this stuff is selling. I can't believe Captain America did as well as it did. I figured it would do the numbers it did for the first couple of issues, and I figured it would slack off. And I figure especially if you got to do like a 24 issue run, I think that we'd see sales go down a little bit more. But who knows? You're not going to get the chance because Marvel's capped you. I think they capped you because you cost too much money. And then Rob goes on like, oh, absolutely. That's what I tell people. It was a business decision. And then he starts going in that direction and completely ignores everything else. So, like Hart Fisher told you to your face why people don't like you.
But he also then gave Rob's brain the escape hatch.
Yes, he gave like an outlet. Yeah.
Here's all the problems. You should address these. And also business. It's that one for okay.
Yeah. I'd like talking business. Let's talk business.
I get it.
Yeah.
So then does that suggest that all the detractors were mostly industry people? Because that's not true.
I wouldn't think so.
I mean, like,
I guess I would imagine he's speaking from that perspective. Yeah, where people in the industry who talk shit about him, because I'm sure there were a ton.
Yeah. But I mean, as common buyers, if you look online, why do people hate Rob Liefeld? There's just like endless Reddit streams of not comic artists. I mean, some but just people who buy comics who are like, it's because it's trash and we hate it and it's so bad, and why is it so bad? What is it? It doesn't really speak to that something else should be more popular, and it certainly doesn't speak to the hundreds of thousands of people that were buying all the comics.
No, well, and that's the thing. At that time, there wasn't that kind of outlet to, it's 1996. There wasn't much of a chance to hear from the fans. I don't think. Like, you could probably get email to him directly, and there was a few message boards here and there, but mostly they would have been hearing from the industry or from people who took the time to write in and post a letter and that kind of thing.
Right. But so 1990s.
These days,
they're most of the audience commentary comes from through sales. Then. Yeah,
and it was doing fine. It was still like tail end of the speculator era too. So Rob Liefeld on a Captain America book, like they're going to buy a few issues of that just in case the stock goes up or something. It might just be some kind of weird lull in the market still. Who knows, right?
I see. Is that?
Yeah.
I never even thought about that. Like, how much is Rob Liefeld's demand driven by speculation?
A huge amount, I think.
Still?
These days? Oh, no. Well, maybe. I think these days it's all nostalgia. Really, it's all people who grew up reading his shit, and they still think his stuff is awesome, and they love the fact that he validates them a bit, as long as they're kind of completely positive when they speak about him.
Right. I was going to say that's what the Twitter feed seems to be. Is people that are like, hey man, thanks for another dope drawing. I'd love to have that, and I'll never say anything bad. Please don't ban me. Because I have a fairly high level of nostalgia about his work, even looking at I can't explain it. When I look at Rob Liefeld art, it feels like I'm a few years younger than you, so I was like slightly younger when the stuff came out.
Yeah.
It's slightly more stitched into the fabric of how I understand the world.
Fair enough.
I like this all the time.
Yeah.
But it's just like everything is so, just big and round and high contrast and colorful and extreme. It just looks
there's no real effort for realism. It's very stylized and everything.
Yeah, because when we first started reading comics, and I mean you far more than I, stuff that was higher quality at the time, or would have been, was certainly boring to me.
Which one was?
Anything that was story driven or had just people standing and holding something. Wow.
Never happens in a Liefeld comic.
The knife, it doesn't have spikes on it.
Yeah. And
then you have a Liefeld comic and there's someone holding a book, but they're like, oh, and the book has another guy in the background, except that he's in front of that guy and he's like,
yes.
Oh, and he's yelling, yabba dabba doo. And it's garbage, but it's really
fun. If you're 8 or 9, you can't I guess you can't really differentiate
that. Even as a child, you read that and be, this is fucking stupid. But it's awesome.
I guess.
Where someone's, again, holding just a little switchblade and being like, hey, give us your purse, miss, look out. And it's that's not cool at all.
Yeah. No, fair enough.
I don't know. Even looking at what do we got? Maybe not number 1. That's pretty boring, right?
I mean, I don't know. I think that works as far as a Liefeld cover. See, I always think of it in context.
I don't know, man.
I don't know.
It feels, it's awful, but
no, it is. It's not a great cover. It's okay, but
this is Battlestone has 19 abs. Chapel's arm. It's so good. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, no, there's no effort to learn how to draw there. Sorry?
Nostalgia driving that, well, I don't know. Love is a hard word, but appreciation. I still I'm on Twitter, hey, you suck at drawing knees, brother. I'm not gonna, I'm under no illusion that his stuff is good. But
no, I think part of it, every once in a while, it occurs to me that he's hasn't improved at all in 30 years. If anything, he's gotten worse.
Yeah.
Which, like blows my mind. Because I mean, coming into the industry and like not knowing very well how to draw, but somehow your style taking off. Like I can live with that. But like not, in 30 years, not learning how to improve at all.
I think that's what angers so many people is that like you have this suspicion that he doesn't give a shit about his art or about like this industry that he loves so much that like, is giving
theoretically
him so much.
Yeah,
theoretically. That has given him so much, and like he seems to give less and less and to not care enough to produce anything of quality. And then like over 30 years, the only thing that's changed is like he learned a different way to draw abs under certain conditions, and it's not good.
No, it's worse.
Or he sort of picked a couple things from manga and sort of like pasted onto his work a little bit, but that's it. And so it definitely feels like he doesn't care about it.
No, it just looks like he's found new ways to do shortcuts over the years. So hire a good colorist, hire a good inker. And then just, every once in a while you trace some shit. You can do that really easily if you've got a stylus and a pad there.
Yeah. But then he goes and he makes what the fuck is that thing? Last Blood.
Yeah, what is it? That's like a blood strike thing, right?
I don't know. It doesn't matter, but he threw it up and he put it on like auction because he found.
Yeah, I wanted to get a copy. I think they'd already sold out by the time I
did too. That's the thing. That's the thing.
So we have a problem then? Is that
he came out? He's like, hey, there's only 10,000 of them, and it's like I want one, but there's no way I can get one. We're the problem.
I guess. I feel like I have an excuse. I can put it up on a YouTube channel, theoretically.
I don't have an excuse. I know you. That's why I want it.
Yeah, I know. Even then, I would. Oh, that I don't know if I could go through with it because that would be giving Liefeld money directly, which is something I feel like I've sworn never to do.
I feel like I don't want to give him money and a note that's like, to be clear,
this is under duress.
I want the thing that you made, but that's not why I want to give you the money. I'm very conflicted about this, Rob.
Yeah.
It's a business.
Please know this goes against my better judgment. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to, but I gotta.
Yeah. If I'm gonna talk shit about you to my friends, then I need to be up on the new shit.
I would look at it too.
I have very little of the new stuff. I have like his Major X issues, which are from like
really bad.
They're not good. It doesn't look like he's trying very hard.
I only see the covers and it's like, I don't know, guys like all of a sudden like 4 torsos long up top and like just bending like.
I'll go get him. Hang on.
It's just like.
Let me go grab him. Wait, come on.
No.
I wasn't prepared.
No,
I'd have to look for like 10 minutes to find him now. Oh well.
Wow.
Next time.
It's so bad. The helmet is like if someone did like a bad version of the Peacemaker helmet, which is already like.
It's a pretty bad helmet.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be kind of stupid, right?
I got to assume it definitely is in the new Suicide Squad movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's dumb.
I mean, they keep calling it a toilet bowl. But
so this looks like that with less effort, just like an X painted on it.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. Okay, I'm just looking at some of the covers here. It's
entire costume is just regular Rob Liefeld body.
Yep.
A head that's a shape.
It is some kind of shape.
Like both of them, just X's.
And his standard, dude standing. I'm pretty sure this. I think I've looked at the pose for the issue 1 cover. I'm pretty sure this pose is copied off of something because I don't think he can do that quite that well. There's too much good foreshortening going on in the arm. And then I look at the Marvel database, like 2 selections over. I'm not sure who drew this one, but It's basically the same thing. It's a dude standing with heads, but it's much better executed.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, you can't really, you just assume that's going to be the case.
Yeah. Those look really bad.
Yes, they really do. It doesn't look like he's trying at all. Every time he has to do a cover, that's basically what he does. It's dudes standing among heads. He doesn't try to do anything different anymore.
Which is funny because on one of his last observations, maybe his last one, he was talking about swiping versus homage. And
I meant to look at that one, yeah.
It's pretty good. It's interesting because it's got more of that, like, I don't know. There's so much to dive into. Dutch angle. But he talks about how he got booked for a cover gig where they were doing a series of like old school homage covers for these comics, and they wanted him to do a bunch, and he was like, okay, that sounds great, except I don't want to do homages. I just want to do some new covers and stuff. I got some really cool ideas for new covers. And it's like,
where you're standing among heads? No.
And that's literally the assignment, man.
Yeah. Like they gave you the out of doing like homages, and then you can try something.
And anyway, like every third cover he does is another knife with a reflection in it, and he puts it up on Twitter like, "Hey, I did it again. It's a cool homage."
Keeps going back to like the 3 covers that he did that he likes.
Yeah.
So like keeps going back to the New Mutants '87 cover and redoing that. Keeps going back to what
you're gonna have to throw it out for you.
I think I've got a copy here somewhere.
Nice. New Mutants '87. Let me see. Oh, what the first cable?
First cable.
Yeah, the one that looks like Rob didn't draw this character a little bit.
That's because he didn't. Well, I mean, this was a swipe off of an Avengers issue, like an old. Oh yeah, that too. And and then after he swiped it, this is inked by Todd McFarlane. So
that. All right.
Todd was good at that. Todd was pretty good with his inks there. So he likes to do that one. He likes to do the first appearance of Deadpool one, of course. Yeah, that one too. The first appearance of Deadpool. This is not the first appearance of Deadpool. He loves this cover.
Oh, this is what you were talking about on the what was it? Extreme. Not Sacrifice. Was it in Sacrifice or Prejudice where same thing on the cover where it had chick?
Oh, the chick's crouching? Yeah, that's Extreme Sacrifice.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, loves that one. Doesn't try to reference X-Force #1. I think because there's too much going on.
Oh, let me see.
I don't think he tries to do any of his X-Force ones.
X-Force #1 cable card, $1,700 on eBay. All right, man. I like it though. I don't care. That's awful.
Yeah, you had. I remember you had a copy of that one.
Yeah, that from like. I wonder if it came in a bag. I can't remember.
It did. Yeah, they had different trading cards.
Those were so cool, man.
And Liefeld likes to say how it wasn't a gimmick, or there weren't multiple covers on that one. It's like no, there were multiple kinds of trading cards in the bags.
That was after. I guess I don't know the timeline. That must have been after the X-Men. Yeah,
I think it was just before X-Men #1 came out.
Oh, with the A, B, C, D, and that was the coolest shit.
This is August. I want to say this is August '91, and I want to say X-Men #1 came out later in the year, like November or something. Because I remember hearing some interview with Liefeld where he's talking about how after him and Jim left Marvel, and they were Marvel was sitting on royalty checks for like a year or something for X-Men #1 and X-Force #1, and Jim kept getting on Rob, being like, because he knew that he was going to get his first, being like, "Have you got your check yet? Have you got your check yet?"
Go get your check. Yeah.
No. Have they sent it yet? Because they hadn't sent it for like a year or two yet before.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Man. But yeah, no, that was a really cool Hasty Market, man. Used to have them in the little bags. Remember those?
Yeah. No, we had a decent selection out there.
That was really cool.
Yeah.
I don't know how we got on the covers. Oh, right, because of homage and all that. But basically, he thinks he likes coming up with new ideas for covers, but then he only makes 3 covers, and they get worse than the time.
Yeah, like how excited was he about his Thundercats cover? Did you see that shit? Yeah. He was so stoked, and it's the exact same thing he always fucking draws.
He does it. It just routinely on Twitter comes out with, "Hey guys, new cover," and it's like, just like it looks like he just sketched something really quick of a character and then handed it to the color squad, and then they turned it into a cover and threw a low type over it, and it looks pretty good except for the line work.
Didn't try it all. Yeah, no, I think that Thundercats cover is one of the worst things I think I've seen him draw for a long time. Yeah. But he seems so stoked. It's like, what was it? It's like bucket list shit. It's like I get to do a shitty Thundercats cover.
Make you dislike Thundercats for
my work here is done. Yeah.
What else do you like from your childhood? Let me just.
Well, he did Snake Eyes as well, so.
Yeah, that's right. And that. Oh, do I have an issue with that?
Do you? I know you had those access to those issues, those
right.
power pages.
Copies. Yeah. Digital. Oh, it's so bad. I forgot about that. How dare you make me remember that? Oh, man.
Where he's got his fucking giant hammer of doom.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. He's Snake Eyes, but also he's Thor.
Yeah, he's got like a circus strongman kind of hammer.
Oh man!
Again, Liefeld's not going to put any effort into it.
Did he write that?
Well, I'm quite sure. Yeah.
It's funny, like watching a man who's obviously led by his just immediate attention. Yeah, like probably something he watched yesterday and read 3 days ago, and it just synthesizes into a soup of like, but what if that was also Youngblood? And then he just like makes it and throws it out as a sketch, and then it sells. And what a guy! All right, but all right. So, is there anything good that Rob Liefeld did?
That's a good call. We should do that
for comics.
In terms of produced, that depends on your taste. I think if we're talking about things he's good at, I think selling himself. Yeah, he's fucking great at that. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What about did he leave any any pieces for anyone else to pick up and run with in a good direction in comics? I don't know how not the immediate Murat and them who got careers.
I mean,
let me say because that's me who got careers.
There you go. Did he's making money off of this somehow? You can argue whether or not he should, and I think I have pretty in depth, but
I mean, there's definitely comics before Image, but pretty specifically before Rob, I'd say.
Yeah,
I'd say out of the Image guys. Oh, maybe that's not true. I don't know. Maybe that's just my opinion. But he seems to have had a really solid, personalized effect on comics, like a Rob Liefeld stamp.
Yeah, I think I know what you mean.
Yeah, like Joe Mad did similarly with bringing his art style in and getting off a wave of pseudo manga.
Pseudo manga with a dash of Art Adams and
kind
of like what J. Scott Campbell did, really.
Yeah. But I mean, did anything good come of Rob Liefeld being in comics?
A bit here and there. I mean, shit, he got Stephen Platt a good profile. And I mean, we have 7 or 8 issues of profit by Stephen Platt because of that. So that's awesome. I mean, you know, he might have been doing something else instead. I don't know if another publisher would have been so indulgent, like allowed him to spend like 3 months working on an issue and then producing something on, and, you know, like it eventually leading to a gigantic argument and then eventually breaking up. But, you know, we do still have some amazing issues because of that. Let me see. I mean,
that's like, did Rob Liefeld have a positive impact on comics? Stephen Platt.
Yeah. I can look at it in those terms, because I mean the characters he created, I mean, I guess it depends how much you like the Deadpool movie for one thing. So there's that.
Yeah, I mean, that could have been anybody though. That doesn't have to be Deadpool.
No, that's true. I mean, you know, you got to think that Jeff Johns eventually could have come up with, is it Jeff Johns, or I don't think it is actually, whoever wrote the Deadpool series back in the 90s or the early 2000s would have done that with something else eventually.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be.
And maybe Ryan Reynolds would have latched onto that.
Or maybe Green Lantern in this universe takes off.
Probably. I think this is the weird minority timeline where Green Lantern didn't work. Yeah,
it's weird. Who would have predicted? But what if it doesn't work? Oh, that's good. So then what? What negative effect did Rob Liefeld have on comics as a whole?
Well, I mean, he made a lot of guys. Well, a lot of guys saw his work and thought, I need to draw like that in order to be successful. So that's a problem, because those guys all produced work that looked kind of like shit. Apart from that, I don't know. There is that element of the lottery winner, where like, I don't know if some people felt like if they just kind of got in and got their style, you know, like just went out there with their style, and maybe it would catch on and they could, you know, they would get super popular. Like it did kind of work for one or two guys, but obviously it wasn't any kind of long-term like practice or anything. Honestly, I don't know that Rob really affects the industry much one way or the other.
Really?
I don't know. Because Image doesn't exist without him. So there's that. But I mean, Marvel and DC were already like, it's not like Image did anything to the rest of the comic industry other than it's a third big publisher that has managed to stick around. And a lot of the people who have been able to publish through it, like self-publish, that kind of thing, would say that was a positive. So there's that.
Hey,
yeah. I don't think he contributes to the downfall of the comic industry in any real way, because that was mostly due to practices that were set up by Marvel and DC and the distributors, and the whole problem with the speculator market.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I think, yeah, okay. So I'll say long term, he probably does have a more positive than negative effect, really, because of his involvement with Image. But it's not because of any comics he produced. I know I'm horrified saying it, but
okay, that's interesting. Because I mean, I don't know. Personally, I feel like there's before Image specifically, comics are more story driven.
Yes.
Right. And then after.
Well, it's interesting because that's big on Jim Shooter, who was the editor-in-chief at Marvel in the 70s and early 80s. And then almost immediately after he stops being the editor-in-chief, that's when the Rob Liefelds and Todd McFarlanes and Jim Lees get into it. And they start, that starts being the focus of the company.
Right.
Yeah.
I see. How much of that is because of like Wizard Magazine, Speculator?
I don't, you know what? I don't, I think it's more the other way around. I think Wizard knew what was getting popular, and that's what they latched onto.
That's
but,
cool.
Yeah, no, because I think by the time Wizard came in, it was like 91. Like X-Force was already out, the first X-Men issues, all that kind of stuff. So the whole thing about just artists being the focus of Marvel was already well in swing. It's just, but Wizard definitely did exacerbate it with like top, hottest artists, and featuring your guys on the cover and getting articles with like who wants to hear like Dale Keown talk,
How late in the night is it? Huh?
Yeah, really. Who wants to hear Dale Keown snore? Yeah.
Yeah, no. Okay, interesting. That's interesting because yeah, I feel like definitely after the Image era, comics are more about just people standing around and flexing, and not a whole lot of like the story. It doesn't matter what's happening. This is what's happening.
No. Yeah, for a while, I'd say probably until the 2000s, late 90s, 2000s. Yeah, it stuck around for a while. Because I mean, they went over there and we don't really need. I mean, that's a big thing on Todd McFarlane, where he was like, we don't need writers. We can all be writer artists. People will buy the books basically regardless of the quality of the story. And I mean, he was right. At least at the time he was anyway.
Yeah. So that's when does that stop?
I think it's around like 96, 97 after Liefeld gets kicked out of Image, and Marvel gets sold, or they go bankrupt. And they have to start, kind of shifting to a new foot and everything. And I think they start actively downplaying at that point the involvement of the artist, because they don't want another Image to happen. So they like these days, they don't promote artists really. They promote writers. I don't know if you noticed, but
I mean, I noticed that I don't particularly know too many of the artists.
I don't know like any of the artists these days. Yeah. And that seems to be an active mindset from Marvel, and I assume DC is kind of following suit, where they don't want to promote them for the risk of them getting too popular and walking away, I guess. But it's like they're all freelance anyway. They can do that at any time. It's just you're not promoting them in the meantime. You're not making them any kind of a draw. You're not helping out your own product.
Yeah, that seems like a bad business choice.
Yeah, no.
Like,
they make a lot of dumb decisions.
Yeah, you're not going to like put up an artist and then they're going to get an enormous following and then they're going to like steal your market share.
I think even if they did, like, you can find another fucking artist. Like,
yeah.
And maybe in the meantime, you're kind of promoting a healthy comic industry.
Yeah, it only benefits your product to get people really interested in people making that product.
Yeah, no, like there's, and I don't know, like there's a lot of just not rational thought when it comes to business decisions at Marvel and DC, particularly Marvel, from what it sounds like. Like, I don't know, I listened to a few commentary or podcast channels, and one of them was saying how like he was speaking to some guy at Marvel who didn't like that Rob Liefeld was coming back to work on a Deadpool project. Because he's like, because they screwed us over in back, way back when. And the guy who's doing the title's like, you're like 25. You weren't alive then. What the fuck is this? Like,
Screwed, I tell you.
Yeah.
I remember when I was in the crib and I was just like reading the newspaper about comics and that was it, guys.
But yeah, no, like it gets like institutionalized, where it's like it just becomes like a, where it's like buying into like a team mantra kind of thing.
Sure, the corporate culture, the us versus the we versus ye.
And they just keep perpetuating it. So now, they refuse to promote artists, which is just a terrible fucking idea because, I mean, obviously, promoting writers hasn't worked that great, I don't think. I'm sure people do get excited when they hear that whatever big, I don't even know who the big writers are. I know a couple of them, but like, I'm sure they get some kind of excited when they hear that a big writer is taking over. a comic book, but not the kind of way they get about a big artist. It's just we haven't seen it in forever.
So what you're saying is we need Rob Liefeld to come back.
Yes.
Save comics.
Well, I don't know, because he did come back and it didn't exactly do that.
That's true. Well, not true, because X-Men, Wolverine, Deadpool.
Oh, right. And he was absolutely the driving force behind that.
In the cinematic universe.
You know what's hilarious is seeing him flip-flop on that and flipping between shilling so hard for the Deadpool Wolverine movie to then just complaining so hard that they don't gotta give him credit.
Because they didn't put in it or have a shout out
and then it's he has a moment of clarity and he flips back and he's like, wait a minute, if I shill harder for them, maybe they'll give me my credit.
Oh, Rob. Living in the moment. Burning
that credit,
fuel for tomorrow's now.
That credit is the most important thing in the world to him. It's just getting that creator credit on everything.
Well, that's also because he keeps going online and being like, "Oh, Deadpool," and everyone's like, "You didn't make that shit," and he's like, "No, I."
You fucking guys! I drew that costume and everything.
Yeah, here's the note again. Look at the note. He's funny.
Yeah. He cracks wise a lot. Yeah. So I gave him what's that thing? I had it up here. Last time for those in the cheap seats kind of thing. Have you ever seen that?
He's such a jerk about that stuff, man.
Well, I mean, I kind of get that because, he has been taking shit constantly for the past 30 years. Well, 2025. Yes.
Here's your millions, here's your shit.
You could try to improve a bit and maybe that would lessen. Although at this point, I don't think it would.
No.
I think he's just going to get shit no matter what these days.
Yeah. Imagine he just took 2 years off and then came back and was good.
That would be strange, yeah.
Because all right, does he have an eye for what looks good? That's his argument always, right? I know what looks good and what sells. This is what people want to look at. It's fun. Is he right?
Your thumping's pretty loud.
Okay.
Thanks for that. To an extent, I think he is right. I think he does have a decent eye for that.
Yeah, I think if you sort of blur your eyes or step back from his covers, not his covers, but whatever, anything.
No, not his covers.
Yeah, his earlier.
No, it's I don't think he can produce it, but I think he knows when he sees somebody else's work whether or not it will do any kind of good.
Right.
Yeah, I think he does have a good eye for that. It's just he can't seem to do a good version of it himself.
Is that? Let me see this. Oh, that's not him.
He's got it. I didn't realize he had it pinned.
Oh.
I was looking up and down through his Twitter feed here, and
where he's yelling at people.
Yeah, so this is by the Stuff in the Butts. You got to credit them properly, right? These are the people Rob's responding to.
Let me just clarify this for.
Yeah. So he says, talking about Deadpool, the initial design was Rob's, but the character himself was given an actual personality and backstory years after Rob initially drew him a handful of times, which I would agree with. It's true. And Rob Liefeld replies with, "Nope, let's put this shit to rest permanently for all the disgruntles in the cheap seats. I didn't sell a costume design to Marvel when I sold Deadpool. I sold a character, a name, an origin story, a motivation, a vocation, and a winning personality with a smart-ass tinge. Just like me." Oh, I missed that part because it's.
I remember
that. I don't.
He's me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the guy is absolutely right. I don't think you can't take away Rob's creator credit on Deadpool, which is all he wants. So I mean, if you just give it to him, he'll go away. It's fine.
Yeah.
But because the comparison I made was like, so then who created Wolverine? Was it, because the first iteration of Wolverine by Len Wein and Herb Trimpe is very different from the character that got popular, like, what is it, like 6-7 years later in the X-Men? He's just kind of he's an adventurer and a like a brawler, but like his main thing is that he has like crazy agility.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't think they touch on the healing factor until like maybe like a year into his run on X-Men. It takes a while for them to determine that the claws are in him and not part of the costume. Yeah. So it's more like he's like animalistic, or has like animalistic abilities than, yeah. And then, so it's like, so who created Wolverine? Was it Chris Claremont and Dave Cockrum, or Chris Claremont and John Byrne, or was it Frank Miller, what he did? Because he did a miniseries with Chris Claremont. That had added all the Japanese stuff with samurais and all that, and the ninja. Yeah, that's a big part of it. But it's like, well, no, because we still just credit Len Wein and Herb Trimpe and maybe John Romita because he helped design the costume. And then, so you got to give the credit to Liefeld. But the dude here is absolutely right that, like, he didn't make that character. He didn't make a character.
I mean, you can't, like, really give credits rolls for every appearance of a character. And, like,
no.
Like, well, this guy made the character, but then this guy made him cool, but then this guy made him like this, and then Ryan.
Because I got stuck in that for a while too. It's like, but like, because like Rob Liefeld doesn't have anything to do with Deadpool being popular.
Yeah.
Like that's down to, I think it's Joe Casey actually who wrote the series. I think that's right. Who gave him all the meta stuff, the fourth wall breaking, all that, and turned it into basically a humor comic. And then from there, it's down to Ryan Reynolds.
Right.
I think making the popularity, and it just
that seems to be like the largest part of Deadpool being popular is that Ryan Reynolds is really funny.
Yeah, and he's for some reason latched on to this minor character from the 90s.
I don't know how that came about. Did someone made like a fan thing or something?
I don't know. I think he loved the character because he really wanted to be the character. You remember he was in X-Men Origins, the Wolverine movie, right? As Deadpool. And he really wanted to be Deadpool in that. And then they fucked it all up, and he was pissed about it. But that movie exists,
I know, and like I routinely remember and feel sad, but I think I've just forgotten again. And here we are.
I don't mind Liv Schreiber as Sabretooth, at least. That's all right.
I don't know, man. Whatever.
I think you do.
Sure.
it doesn't justify the rest of the movie. I'm just saying I love that one person.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
I'm not putting the entire movie on Liv Schreiber's shoulders,
It's like, but Liv.
No. Fair enough.
I don't know. All right. So, I mean, I'm glad we're at least on record. We can agree that Rob Liefeld is more beneficial to comics than he is.
I'm not comfortable saying that.
Oh, you already did.
I know, I did. I volunteered that shit. Like, can I take it back? Like, oh man,
man. You can do this forever. You can talk about Rob Liefeld, and we have.
Yeah. No, this is like 20 years worth of discussions boiled down.
Yeah, there's so much. I still have at least half the gray matter is.
Yeah.
Liefeld.
No, I mean, if anybody has any kind of opinion on Liefeld, I'm ready to go in any minute. I feel like.
Yeah.
Particularly after the last couple of years, after looking at his shit in depth and seeing his progression and seeing the progression of the people around him, like his peers and the people he brought into the industry who surpassed him. Yeah, he surpassed him, and then he left because he realized there wasn't any money in comics.
Yeah, it's sad.
It is kind of sad, but it's,
We'll always have Dan Fraga.
Dan Fraga's okay. He also got out.
I'll never agree with that.
I don't think his art's okay, but like he seems like an alright guy.
Oh, okay. No, that's
but no,
fuck that.
Yeah, but he got out too. He did a lot of the extreme guys because Rob went to, there was some point where he was trying to get something licensed, and he went to some studio and got a look at some storyboards, and he was like, "Man, these storyboards fucking suck." And when he got back to the studios, he was telling all his guys, like, "If you guys get into storyboarding, like you'll be like the top of the industry because they're so terrible." And then a lot of people took him up on it. So, like Jeff Matsuda, I think he eventually got into animation, but like Chap Yape, Dan Fraga, all those guys, they left to go work in Hollywood. Yeah.
Fascinating.
And I mean, I'm sure they probably made a lot more money because, I mean, by the time they would have been good enough to carry their own titles, well, Chap Yape probably could, but like at that point, the industry was already going under. So I think they made the right choice for the most part.
Right.
Yeah.
Really cool.
Yeah. No, one thing that's actually interesting is how a lot of the homage guys kind of turn into the top dogs in the industry.
I mean,
so like,
that's not that surprising. Maybe it is.
I suppose not. I guess Jim Lee had better standards than Rob Liefeld, but like he found some like really good. Like Brett Booth is like maybe the top guy right now.
Yeah, you were saying.
Or in contention. J. Scott Campbell, he would be if he drew a comic, but like every time you put a J. Scott Campbell cover on something, it sells.
Yeah, for sure.
Ryan Benjamin's is still like he's a big name.
Yeah.
Yeah. And actually, I think he was the one who brought Greg Capullo over, because he had a bit of work in Deathmate Black, and then Todd McFarlane, I'm pretty sure, poached him.
Say, like, really?
Yeah.
On Capullo, really?
Yeah, no, and then and basically kept Capullo for I don't even know how many issues, like 75 or something, maybe more.
Huh.
Yeah. And now he's, again, one of the top guys in the industry. Yeah. It's crazy.
I mean, great. Good for him.
Yeah.
That's cool. Oh, man, fascinating. Hey, clear up the Rob Liefeld feed.
Again?
Yeah.
Sure. All right. Here, let me get my. You know what? Let me get my copy.
It still comes up. It's in the X-Men. They're the Wolverine, Deadpool thing. Rob Liefeld's only feet.
Yeah, pediatrics or something like that.
Yeah, everybody's still on Twitter every like third day. Just you can't trust.
I feel like Ryan Reynolds is perpetuating the feet thing.
I see.
Yeah. So hang on a second. I'll be right back. All right. So this is the origin of the feet thing for me. So, yeah.
Hold on.
So, you got your copy there too, right?
Yeah, where'd I put it? Hold on. High five.
Hey, bam. So, let me see if I can get this on screen. All right. If we can see here, Rob Liefeld has covered up all the feet, right? Yeah. So, someone would normally think this is because he drew feet terribly.
Yeah, he can't
which
draw
he
feet.
did. No, and he draws pretty bad feet, but he doesn't care that he draws bad feet. He's all right with drawing bad feet. Is there any, like, you look at the other side here,
yeah,
and there's bad feet in this too. Like Cougar's got bad feet. I can't even look at what I'm doing. Cougar's got bad feet. I think we got Brahma's bad feet. There's bad feet all over the place. Yeah, bad feet on Sci-Fire. Right. He doesn't care if he draws bad feet. The problem is that Rob Liefeld doesn't do an underdrawing. So you look at this here. I'll move it back a little bit so I can see what I'm looking at. So first thing he drew on this was Shaft, right? And he's like, man, that's a cool shot of Shaft. Then he drew Domino and Die Hard beside them. And all the feet matched up, roughly, and it was okay. Then he drew these two guys here, and then drew Badrock, and then started to fill everything in below them and realized, wait a minute, these guys in the back here, their feet are going to be down here somewhere, which means these guys are going to be floating. And oh shit, I'm going to have to start all over if I actually do this correctly. Fuck it. I'll just do a curve in front of them. I'll make them all standing on a hill. And and he keeps doing it.
25 years later.
Missed. Yeah.
Oh man.
He did this on, I noticed it again on the cover for Extreme Sacrifice.
Yeah.
Where he managed to line them up fairly well just by having like a police lineup kind of thing, where they're all essentially on the same plane, and then he still managed to fuck up because he puts Shaft's foot hovering a little bit over Prophet's foot, and then he went, good enough. So yeah, if Rob Liefeld could figure out how to do an underdrawing, it would all be fine.
Why doesn't he do an underdrawing?
I don't know. He just kind of goes, I feel like. Or like he gets like, I mean, I think about how I draw, where I pencil, and it's like the most basic outline when it comes to the penciling part of things. Because like it's, you know, if I were to do a really involved penciling job, I don't know. It's like, why would I do that? I'm going to be going over this in ink anyway.
Right.
Why draw it 2 or 3 times, like Jim Lee would, you know, and then be successful like Jim Lee would? But no, I'm not gonna do that. So yeah, I feel like he gets the basic shape, and it's like, it'll work itself out, and then sometimes it doesn't. It's like, good enough. It'll make millions anyway.
It never does.
No.
But then it still sells.
Yeah, it still sells every time. That's the thing. It always comes down to, you know, if it's a shit drawing, he's like, it'll still make money. Yeah. It's just that he does that more often than he does something that looks solid.
Which is still like, I mean, it's appreciable. You can see it and you can understand what's happening, but then he goes and he talks about other artists being
yeah,
about them not getting it, and you know,
and being B talents and that kind of shit. Yeah,
talking about the guys at Valiant on his when he's going over his Deathmate stuff.
Yeah,
and he's just like kind of going in on, not even in an angry way, just to like, you know, the head guys over there knew that their artists weren't great, so they did small pictures, and it's like, you're not great.
No,
they can't do it.
But his whole thing is, there is that implication. I mean, the thing is, he's not wrong. I mean, that is their whole thing was that it was story driven and it was all about storytelling. So they got old school guys who didn't do flashy art,
right,
and didn't do the big splash pages or anchor images that the image guys were prone to do. So I mean, he's right about that. It's just the implication that his art is good in comparison. That is
just turn that critical eye inward.
Yeah. No, it doesn't work out too well.
Yeah, and he never will.
No, he seems incapable of just like, I don't know, being able to. Just. I like that I have this comic.
Yeah. You know? Like, so that's the thing. You go to the comic store and they have like thousands of the Kitchener Comic Warehouse.
Yep.
Thousands.
Comic. You got yours for $1.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. It's like the
little ripped off. That's the thing, is you go through like.
Well, I feel like part of that is the cost of the bag and board too. I think if you went downstairs, you found a copy downstairs, you probably could have got it for 50 cents.
No.
Yeah. It's a shame.
But you flip through like hundreds of comics and you see like a young, maybe that is the nostalgia, I don't know. But you see like a Rob Liefeld comic and you're like, it's like,
well, there is that initial impulse, like, this shouldn't be here. Like, this is worth too much money to be in the dollar bin. It's like, no, it's not. They printed 1.5 million of them. Yeah. It absolutely should be in the dollar bin.
I don't know. There's something about them.
Yeah, no, there definitely is. And I mean, maybe the best thing is thinking back to when Image first started, that weird feeling when like they were stopping working on X-Men or Spider-Man or whatever, and all of a sudden you saw the ads in the back, like those order in comics kind of shit, and you see ads for these weird characters that you don't recognize, but I'm pretty sure that's Jim Lee drawing that, or that's Rob Liefeld. What is this shit? And I don't think we were reading Wizard at the time, so we didn't really know what was going on. Yeah, it's just that, yeah. It's I don't know. I like thinking back to that time and just being like, this is so weird. I have to find out more about this. I hope I can find this at the newsstand. I don't have to go to some kind of specialty shop that I've heard of and have no idea where it is.
No, those were cool. And that was like during the. I mean, I think there was a lot of number ones coming out then of things.
Yeah. They were starting up the number one thing, but I feel like it wasn't really kicking into high gear yet. I feel like that starts around when Cable number one comes out, which is a terrible comic book. But
yeah, is that the one where he's like this on the cover?
Kind of, yeah. He's just kind of like in like a 3/4 profile kind of thing. And there's a lot of gold chrome on it, just like little bits of gold chrome all over the place.
Maybe I'm thinking of something else.
Maybe.
Oh yeah, no. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
And it's drawn by Art T-Bear.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's Art T-Bear's a pretty good inker, and not a great penciler, but. I think he's gotten a lot better over the years, at least. It's tough in the early days when he's basically trying to do, he was very obviously told to do a Jim Lee clone.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he you can't do that shit.
Yeah.
Like Ryan Benjamin can do a decent job these days after 25 years of practice.
Yeah. Takes a while.
Yeah.
Of swiping. I mean, paying homage. Yeah. That was a cool time, though, man.
Yeah. No, it was neat. I don't know, because it's hard to think of the context sometimes. It's just like, particularly with my thing where I just like, I put a comic down and go, okay, let's go through it one by one. You don't necessarily think of the atmosphere at the time, which was like palpable. Like it was very much, driven by this, I don't know, there's this weird momentum of that Image Comics had, where it was extremely exciting.
Yeah, it definitely was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember we were just waiting to collect whoever's the next new comic was coming out. I think I remember having Savage Dragon number one, just in a desk drawer at the top, because they said bastard in it, and there was
yeah, there was blood and stuff too.
Blood, man.
And fucking Glowbug got punched in the face.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. And getting Spawn number 4 and their hearts are getting ripped out. It's like, man, this comic is so fucking wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, we should have bought 30 of all of those.
Well, I don't know. I was able to pick one up for $3, I think. The only one of those
had them and then kept them in
oh yes, pristine
diamond.
Yeah, fair enough. The only one of those that's worth any.
We had newsstand versions though, didn't we?
We did. Newsstand versions are still worth about the same generally.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
If the only problem I think is that they're less likely to be in decent condition.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, but the only one of those that's worth any kind of money, I think, is Spawn number 1 for some reason. That one's still $25. It's not, it's not an insane amount or anything.
Yeah, what?
Yeah.
I was at 25,000.
Because they printed 1 million of them. Why would it, let's
I don't understand economics. Talking in comic terms.
Newsstand. Yeah, actually, newsstand copy of Spawn. Cheapest one I could see here is $105. for Spawn number 1. But yeah, the direct market version, cheapest one is $20, which seems high to me because there should just be copies everywhere. But yeah, just kind of artificially inflating the cost on that one.
Interesting. Wow.
But like, yeah, there's no copy of Youngblood for more than, $4.
Yeah.
Same with Savage Dragon, I'm quite sure. Same with Wildcats, Cyberforce, etc. Which is funny because these were the ones that were bought up in like somebody would have gone in and bought like 50 or 100 copies of these.
Yeah. I mean, we besides being just so cool and, new and stuff, they just felt like they were going to be worth $1 million.
Yeah. Somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny. I remember I talked to a guy who was working in comic stores at the time when the speculator boom was really going. And he was saying you'd get these weird, like shady business types in suits who would show up and would like buy a pallet of like X-Force number 1s. Because that was going to pay for his kids, college fund one day.
Yeah.
Or was going to buy him a house.
Legit.
Well, the whole deal apparently is that the baseball card or the card market, the trading card market crashed just before the comic speculator market started up. That was like what they poured their thing into. And that was right around the time that, I guess right around that crash was when Valiant started doing their gold foil variant program, which was extremely limited and was just for people who would promote Valiant, like at their school or at their comic shop or whatever. If you wrote in a letter saying that you had helped to further Valiant as a company, then they would mail you a gold foil variant of some number 1 or number 0 or whatever.
Wow, that is rare.
And that was like a reward program. And then that, with that you could hang on to that and just, show it off to your buddies. Look at this awesome thing I had, or you could probably sell it for a few $100s or maybe even more. But that was, and right around there was when the baseball card companies were baseball card collectors were getting into comics and look, wait a minute. Any number 1 or number 0 is going to be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. I should buy all of them. It's like, man, how did you make enough money to buy all of these with that mindset?
Sold out my baseball cards.
Yeah. It's wild shit. All right, so I think we complained about Liefeld about as much as we can for one day.
For one day.
Yeah. I'm sure we'll come back to it at some point if we do this again. But we're going to call that a wrap for today. Fuck, I don't know how to do an outro for one of these. Toe jam. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.